Hi, I'm Jenny. Thanks for stopping by. I'm so glad you're here. I appreciate you spending some time with me today. I want to do something a little bit different today. I am part of multiple social media junk journal groups, and a lot of people lately have been talking about having trouble finding ideas or finding inspiration for layouts. And so today I want to try to give you some ideas of places or ways that you might find some inspiration to make something cool in your journal. So whether you have an art journal, a junk journal, or just a drawing notebook, any of those are great, and any of those can benefit, or from one of these ideas maybe. So I hope you like them. So here's my first idea. Here's one of my go-tos. Use a quote. When I'm stuck, the very first thing I do is I pick a quote, because I feel like that's super easy to get. You can go online and put in a theme. You can pick a favorite author. You can think of sayings that you've heard all your life, things that your parents and grandparents said to you. The first one that comes to my mind is, he's more nervous than a, long-tailed cat in a room full of rocking chairs. Something like that. I grew up hearing, get up, dress up, show up. Do the best you can with what you have where you are. So even those kinds of sayings are great. Or if you're doing a theme, like for example, if you're doing a nature theme journal, it's really easy to find great nature quotes from famous authors or not so famous authors and naturalists and people, through history. John Muir comes to mind with the Muir Woods. Audubon, right? All of those people. So you can find some really great quotes that might inspire the idea for a page that would help you. And you can incorporate the quote or not. You don't necessarily have to put the quote on the page. Just get the idea from what the page might look like from the quote. Illustrate it in some way. My second idea is to draw inspiration from your favorite place. Do you love the beach? Do you love the theater? Do you love the woods? Do you love cityscapes? Whatever it is, follow that thought. And it doesn't have to be literal. It could just be the vibe. So I am a beach lover. That is my happy place on earth, is the beach. So whenever I am stuck or having trouble, I think about the beach. If I'm having a tough day, I think about the beach. So I might think about seashells, or I might think about the eternity of the tide, or I might think about the colors, or I might think about how the sunset looks over the west coast, or how the sunrise looks over the east coast. So anything. I might think about the little beach towns I've been to. I might think about the sand sticking to my feet. I might think about how the water is super cold in January, but I like to walk barefoot in it anyway. So whatever it is that makes you think about that. So, anything. So you might pull in the colors, you might pull in the texture, you might just pull in the feeling. How would that look if you just pulled in the feeling of the beach, or any other place that you love? Right? So my next idea is to interpret a favorite singer or musical type. So how would that singer's voice look? What color would it be? What texture would it be? Or a musical genre or a style? If you think about jazz, what are the colors of jazz? What are the, jazz has kind of easy swing rhythms and very staccato kind of rhythms. What would lines look like if you were jazz? What would that look like on a page? So, think about your favorite piece, your favorite singer, your favorite song, and try to turn that into a visual something from what you hear. Listen to it. Pull out the textures and the colors and the motifs, and is there repetition, and that kind of stuff, and draw some inspiration from that. Another idea is to look at color palettes online. Colorhunt.co is a really good website to look at. They have great color palettes. They have a color palette every day. They have popular ones. You can look back and look at vintage color palettes. You can look at all kinds of things. So when you're looking at those colors, what does that make you think of? You know, when you see, you know, oranges and reds and greens, does it make you think of fall colors? Or does it make you think of a fire? Or does it make you think of the favorite sweater you have hanging in the closet? Or does it make you think of candy? What does it make you think of? What is it evocative of? So find a couple color palettes that are really interesting to you, and think about what that, you know, what that evokes for you, and go with that. Run with that theme. So my number 5 idea is to channel a favorite character from a book, movie, or TV show. And by channel, I mean put yourself in their shoes. What would a page look like if they made it? If I am, you know, Oscar the Grouch from Sesame Street, what kind of page would I make? It would be sloppy and dirty and vintage and torn and trash, right? However, if I am, you know, somebody who's super neat, if I'm some really stylish woman from, you know, a really cool show, I'm trying to think, I don't watch very much TV. I can't think of any character names. You know, what would that look like if I am a character from a book? If I am Miss Skiffins from Great Expectations, how would that page look? How would it look different if I were Pip from that same book? If I were Jonathan Harker from Dracula, what kind of page would I make for him? So if you put yourself in a character from a book, a story, a television show, a movie, something, you know, that you've seen recently, that you keep thinking about, that you're reading, maybe a book that you're reading now. You know, if you put yourself in that character and then create something from their perspective, that's kind of a cool way to go too. Idea number 6 is to mash up different holidays. Sorry, my eyes are watering and I don't know why. Idea number 6 is to mash up different holidays. So for example, take that scarecrow that you have left over that, you know, from fall. I mean, I know it's early November, so it's still fall. You might still be working on a fall journal, but you might be looking ahead to a Christmas journal. So take that scarecrow and turn him into a Santa Claus. How would Scarecrow Santa look, right? What if you looking forward to that Christmas journal? What if you did a Christmas layout using red, white, and blue and stars and stripes for Independence Day? What if you used Halloween motifs and Easter colors? You know, so you get the idea. What if you did Valentine's Day motifs with hearts and cupids and arrows in Halloween colors? That would be kind of fun, right? So you could do this for anything that is like kind of opposite. So any mishmash of, you know, taking things that don't seem to go together, that are disparate ideas, and kind of putting them together. And, you know, then play with that idea and see. Maybe a full page of that is too much, but maybe 1 or 2 elements that inspire you to do something else is just right. Idea number 7 is interpret a favorite piece of clothing or jewelry. So look at, you know, the texture, the motif. Like if I pulled this out, I might look at the florals, or I might look at the stripes. I might look at the lace on the sleeve. You know, I might look at these colors. There's reds and greens, but there's also this kind of cool dusty blue, right? So I might look at all of those kinds of patterns and motifs and colors, and I might be inspired to create something else. I might pull the color palette. If I were looking at a piece of jewelry, if I used these earrings, let's see if I can get a little closer. So these are replicas of 1920s jewelry. So I might, you know, kind of try to get that vibe, that kind of Art Deco vibe with, you know, things like the garnets and the moonstone and things like that. I might go for those colors. I might go for those shapes, that kind of cabochon circular, kind of flattened circular shape. I might go, you know, I might even trace this little shape and try to cut that out of lots of different kinds of paper. and put it all around, or maybe trace it and blow it up. Like I might trace it small and then kind of enlarge it, make it something bigger, and then put something in the middle of it, almost like a coat of arms. This kind of has the shape of a coat of arms, or it kind of looks like a little person. Look, you've got a head and arms and kind of a body here. So maybe you could make a paper doll out of something like that. So find something, a piece of clothing, a piece of jewelry that you really like, that has something you can jump off of. It's finding a jumping off point. It's not about, reproducing it. It's about taking inspiration from it. Let's see, that was number 7. Number 8 is pull inspiration from a favorite childhood object like a toy, a quilt, or a game. So think about, how did you feel when you had that thing in your possession? Do you still have it? Maybe you still have it. Maybe you can, look at that quilt or look at pictures of it, and maybe you can reuse that motif, or maybe you can use those colors, or maybe you remember pulling that quilt up over your head, laying in bed at night and feeling safe and warm and, cared for. So, you could try to evoke those feelings. What colors would those feelings be? Maybe it's a toy. Maybe it's a game. Like if you like to play Operation, we played Operation when we were kids. And so it had tweezers and all those little things. And there was the guy, and you had to, get the stuff out without trying to bzz on the sides, right? So what if you drew lots of little things inside a person? Maybe it's you. Maybe you do an outline and you draw all of the little things, or paste little pictures of things, that make you happy, right? Or maybe the things that are bothering you. Maybe you want to get it off your chest. It doesn't always have to be happy. I like to go for happy in my journal, because then when I look at it later when I'm not so happy, it makes me happy to look at it. But that's just my personal bent to it. So do what makes you happy. And if you had games that had like little cards, maybe you just want to make a bunch of little cards and flip them up and put pictures under them. So just think about anything that inspires you about that toy, that game, that blanket, that item. Maybe it was a pair of cowboy boots. When I was a kid, I had a pair of turquoise cowboy boots. I love those boots. So sad when I outgrew them. It's very sad. So maybe I want to do some fantasy cowboy boots. I might want to do a spread with like my fantasy cowboy boots, which would now of course be covered in rhinestones and glitter and all kinds of cool stuff, right? So, just think about the things that made you happy as a child and try to jump off from that point. Number 9, walk through your house and choose something special. Do you have your grandmother's vase? Is there a teacup a friend gave you that you like? Is there a piece of china that came from your great aunt's house? Is there, even if you don't have that kind of stuff, is there a throw pillow that you thrifted, and got it for, it was super expensive and you got it for like $2 and it looks fabulous on your couch and you love it? Find something in your house that is special and look at it. Take a good look at it. Look at the patterns, look at the texture, look at the colors. How does it make you feel when you're holding it? If it's china or glass, it's cool and it's solid feeling. Or maybe if it's glass, maybe there's a bunch of, or crystal, maybe there's a bunch of cuts and facets to it that make it look very ornate. Or maybe it's very simple. Maybe it's a really, a sweatery pillow or throw that you curl up on the couch with at night and watch TV, and your cat curls up with you, and or your dog, and you feel very homey and relaxed, right? So think about how that makes you feel, and look at those colors and look at those motifs. Can you repeat a design? Is there a basic flower? And you don't have to be super ornate. I mean, if a lot of people are like, oh, I can't draw that. You don't have to draw the whole thing. You can draw one little part. You can draw one little flower. You can draw the leaves. You can take the colors. You can decide you're going to do something that is kind of glossy and use gloss paint, and then use a ruler and a glitter pen to make angles so that it glistens in the light. so that you have something that looks like crystal or cut glass. You can put down some, some jewels or whatever. So just look at the colors and the texture and feel of it. It's about drawing inspiration from it, right? And the last, my number 10, my last one, is to actually channel something that is in your craft room or your stash. And by channel it, again, I mean put yourself in its shoes. What would it create? So for example, if you have a really great roll of washi tape, some of us have some washi tape that's really gorgeous. I don't have very much left that's super gorgeous, but every now and then I come across a roll that's just like, oh, it's so good. So I look at that washi tape and I think, if I were that washi tape, what would I make? Would I make something that I could go in, like the final touch would be me across the page? Or would I be the star? Or would I not be in it at all? And what would that look like? Would it be something that is super high contrast with me as this washi tape? If I am gold and green foiled tape, would I want something that is kind of a really sedate background so that I could stand out and shine? Or would I want to be surrounded by other golds and greens and things that I would blend into so that I didn't feel alone, so that I felt like I was part of a community of gold and green? Would I want to be a whole big piece? Would I want to just be a small corner of a piece? Would I want to be, in it at all? Or would I just want something that reflected how I saw myself? So try, if you take inanimate objects and think about, if you gave them a personality and they were, animate, what kind of personality would they have? What would their energy be? What's the energy of that dish that sits in your craft room that holds your buttons? Is it kind of a workhorse kind of dish? It's a jar that was a pickle jar and it's been washed and now it gets to hold, pretty buttons, and it's happy because it gets to hold pretty buttons? Or, is it a fancy jar and it's like too good for its britches and those buttons are just lowly buttons? What kind of personality would it have? And how could you embody that in a page? So those are my 10 ideas. I hope you find them helpful. I hope they're bouncing off places for you. I think sometimes we get caught up in the actual doing of things, how am I going to break this page? And that's a different set of 10 ideas of how to break the page and physically what to put on the paper so that it doesn't look so blank and daunting and intimidating. But I think the inspiration is really the guiding light of all of that. Once I have an idea, I can figure out how to break the page. I can decide what to put on it. I can narrow it down. But the idea is what, guides everything. If you're still looking for other ideas, I would suggest you might try looking up like creative writing prompts and interpreting those in a visual way. Because that is something that can definitely help. Many of us are much more comfortable with, writing something down because we did that in school. We've done that our whole lives. We've told stories. We've heard stories. So we're comfortable with that kind of storytelling idea. So think about storytelling and what story you might tell. Choose a story you already know and tell it on the paper. Okay. All right, I hope you have enjoyed this video. If you have, please hit that like button. It really helps me out with the YouTube algorithms. If you haven't subscribed, I would invite you to do so now. And until next time, my friends, when you come back and play again, I hope you make your life magical. Have a great day. Bye.